Hello, I am Arisa Williams with EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, and I thank you all for joining us today for the SMM Electronic Challenge National Rollout. Today, we will be joined with Lisa Feldt, who is the Deputy Assistant Administrator for the Office of Solid Waste and Emergency Response. She will be sitting in for Administrator Lisa Jackson, who unfortunately had another engagement and could not attend. So at this time, I welcome and introduce to you Lisa Feldt.
Welcome, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Welcome to all. It is a pleasure for me to be here at Vintage Recyclers and to have joined with many of the manufacturers and retailers that are with us here today. I'm here on behalf of Administrator Jackson, who unfortunately could not be here today, but hopefully you all have seen our press release that has a specific quote from her. This continues to be the safe and responsible management of used electronics continues to be a priority for this administrator and for this administration. And I was her representative from EPA, the senior political representative, representing the administrator on the development of the National Framework for Electronic Stewardship, which was released last summer. And what we're announcing here today is a continuation of a very important component of that framework, which is a voluntary partnership with the industry to promote environmentally safe management of used electronics. And a cornerstone of that promotion is the use of certified recyclers like Vintage Recyclers that are certified to standards that I'll talk about in just a bit. So welcome all. It's a pleasure to have everyone here today. I'd specifically like to welcome and thank Carrie and Todd Gibson, who are the head of Vintage Recyclers, for inviting us to this wonderful facility. It is incredible. It is incredible what you have done. I know you do day-to-day work, and I hope we're not taking away from very important work and the work that you all do over there, but thank you for hosting us here today. And I think we are also live streaming into the East Scrap Conference in Dallas, Texas, where many of our company's representatives are also there, as well as representatives from numerous groups that all have a stake and care very deeply about the safe management of used electronics. I'm also pleased to have in attendance the Honorable Mayor John Nokia from the Mayor of Romeoville, the Honorable Dev Trivedi from Mayor of Lockport, and the Honorable Roger Clare from the Mayor of Bolingbrook. This is my first time in this area. I have been to the Chicago area many times, but it is wonderful to see this community and to see a business like this thrive in this community, have increased jobs in this community where so much good work goes on. So I welcome all of the mayors and local officials to this event as well. Today is the EPA rollout and signing ceremony for the Sustainable Materials Management Electronics Challenge. It's my pleasure today to recognize the 10 leaders in the electronic manufacturing and retail industries that have made a public commitment to ensure the responsible management of used electronics. As I've mentioned, last July 2011, EPA, in partnership with the Council of Environmental Quality and the General Services Administration, and at the direction of President Obama, issued the National Strategy for Electronic Stewardship. Under that strategy, we committed to improve the management of electronics throughout the product life cycle, from design and manufacturing through the use and eventual refurbishing, recycling, recovery, or disposal. As many of you know, Dell and Sony and Sprint were the first industry participants to enter into a partnership with us last year. I want to thank Dell, Sony, and Sprint for their early commitments that laid the foundation for today's national launch of the Sustainable Materials Management Electronic Challenge. Because of these earlier commitments, we have been able to refine what information will be collected and reported, and have been able to build on their experience in other areas to create a strong program that we believe will ensure safe and responsible management of used electronics, and will also provide more collection opportunities for the American consumers across the EPA. The leading companies that have signed on to the challenge today that we're launching, the National Electronics Challenge, include Best Buy, who is here today, Dell, LG Electronics, who is also here, Nokia, Panasonic, who is here, Samsung, Sharp, who is here, Sprint, and Staples, who are here. So we have a really robust and good mix of both the manufacturers as well as the retailers, and we encourage others to join the Electronic Challenge as we launch this program. As I mentioned, all these 10 companies have committed to send 100% of their used electronics collected for reuse and recycling to third-party certified recyclers like Vintage Tech here. As a matter of fact, some of today's participants, as I understand, are customers of Vintage Tech recyclers, and we want to recognize that. Participants have also agreed to increase the collection of used electronics for reuse and recycling, and to be open and transparent about the amount of used electronics they collect. They will be listing public education and outreach activities they conduct and publicizing the policies that they use in favor of recycling and reuse of used electronics over disposal. As you know, the United States generates 2.5 million tons of electronic waste per year. Many of these products contain toxic chemicals that must be properly managed. They also contain valuable resources like copper, gold, silver, rare earth elements, and other critical materials. Disposing of these electronics in a landfill is not the approach to take, and financially and environmentally, from a financial and environmental perspective. Recovering the materials reduces the potential for air, water, and land contamination, and the amount of energy required to mine virgin materials and process them. I would like to take a few minutes today to speak about the importance of third-party certification, which is such a cornerstone to this electronic challenge, and its standards for the electronic recycling. Our host facility, Vintage Tech Recycling, is certified to 2 certification standards, E-Stewards and Responsible Recycling Practices, commonly known as the R2. EPA encourages electronic recyclers to become certified to either of the electronics recycling certification programs. While certification to these standards has only been available for the last few years, as of September 2012, there are over 300 facilities certified to at least one of these standards, and about 10% of those facilities have dual certification, like Vintage Tech. This represents a doubling of the number of certified recyclers since September 2011, and we launched the National Stewardship Framework in July of 2011. So a tremendous growth we're already starting to see in the domestic recycling capability. And many of the recycling facilities around the country are located in communities that need economic vitality and need economic growth. So we're really proud to be a partner with all of you. We understand that there are many recyclers and refurbishers that are contracted to be certified to one or both of the 2 standards in the next few months, so we anticipate continued growth in the area. Being certified means that Vintage Tech Recyclers has been audited to and satisfies both accredited third-party certification standards for electronics recyclers. These standards help to ensure that companies are using best practices to protect the environment and privacy of data and more. Vintage Tech is a small, women-owned business that was established in 2005 and has grown steadily since then. They have been the recipient of numerous awards and attracted many distinguished customers, many of which here are in attendance today. Proving that environmental protection and job creation can go hand in hand, Vintage Tech created more than 75 jobs over the last 2 years. And I think many of the folks here are here watching this as well. They attribute 80% of those 75 jobs, or 60 of the 75 jobs, to being certified. The Sustainable Materials Electronic Challenge is an important step for our long-term sustainability. We need to look upstream to how we use our resources. The challenge is part of EPA's overall Sustainable Materials Management Program, which is run out of our office at EPA. And this program seeks to reduce the environmental impacts of materials throughout the entire life cycle, including how they are extracted, manufactured, distributed, used, recycled, and disposed of. I applaud electronic manufacturers and retailers for joining the Electronic Challenge, and I had an opportunity to give you EPA's personal thanks and support for this, and encourage others to do so. I also ask that you harness the creative minds in your companies, you are the leaders, to find ways to make every aspect of these products, their manufacture, packaging, transporting, and reuse, recycling, and disposal, less resource intensive and more sustainable in the long term. America gave birth to the digital age, an amazing time when electronic devices of all shapes and sizes make our lives easier and more productive. Keep us in touch with each other and allow our creative energy and ideas to go across the world in seconds. With industry, government, and the environmental and local communities partnership working together, America can and will lead the way in managing the safe reuse, recycling, and disposal of these same devices while producing good jobs and supporting local communities like this one. Today's signing ceremony is an important step in that direction, but it's just one step, and we need to continue to challenge on all fronts to make sure we have an environmentally and economic thriving system. I'm happy, as I said, to be here on behalf of the administrator to welcome the 10 companies that have joined the challenges and the specific companies that are here today. As I mentioned, while not all companies were able to join us today, we do have Sprint, Staples, Samsung, Best Buy, Panasonic, LG, and Sharp with us here today, and thank you for your personal commitment and schedules to make it here to such an important event. Thank you, and now I'd like to invite Ralph Reed, the Vice President of Corporate Responsibility at Sprint Nextel Corporation, to the podium to provide a few remarks.
Good morning, and thank you, Lisa, for the invitation to be a part of this national rollout of the Sustainable Material Electronic Challenge. We were happy to be a part of the pilot program last year with Dell and Sony, and we're even more pleased to be here today, standing here with a growing list of other brands, or of leading brands, I should say, who are joining this program today. An e-waste solution requires meaningful action and a commitment from companies from all sectors. And this challenge serves as an ideal model to drive positive change in this area. E-waste is the largest growing waste stream in our country. The EPA even estimates that 135 million cell phones are discarded in the U.S. every year. That's 4 cell phones discarded every second. Some are shoved into drawers, others are into the landfills. Today, only about 10% of those are collected for reuse or recycling. At Sprint, we're taking actions to reduce e-waste and increase responsible recycling. Sprint was the first wireless provider in the telecommunication industry to set an ambitious long-term goal for device collections. Our goal is to collect 9 out of every 10 cell phones that we sell by 2017. That's a 90% collection rate. Last quarter, we're happy to say that we had achieved 45% already, but we know that we still have time towards 2017, and we're very proud to say we're 50% already there. But we didn't just stop with a collection rate. We've extended our leadership position to even further being the first wireless provider to publish an electronic stewardship policy, which outlines how Sprint and our vendors will be responsibly address electronic waste and produce a plan from not only at the end of the life cycle, but also at the beginning as far as the design. Sprint is also recognized for having the best buyback program in the industry. Our buyback program accepts all eligible phones regardless of the manufacturer or the carrier. Through our buyback program, Sprint provides a financial incentive up to $300 to encourage consumers to recycle their used device with Sprint. So far, our buyback program has put more than $50 million back in consumers' pockets this year. Overall, Sprint device collection programs saved the company more than $1 billion in cost avoidance and divert millions of phones from the landfill. At the other end of the life cycle, Sprint has more devices that are eco-friendly than any other wireless carrier in the United States. We currently offer 7 phones that have been certified as platinum by the Underwriters Laboratory Environment section. We are proud that the full life cycle approach has earned us recognition over the last few years. We're also proud that we continue the long-standing relationship that we've created with the EPA in working to develop programming that helps e-waste move forward. It is an honor to be among the first companies to publicly confirm our participation in this national challenge, and we look forward to furthering the efforts in this recycling and reuse of electronic equipment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, for those important remarks. And I'd now like to turn it over to Panasonic. Peter, please come to the podium. Let me find my notes. Peter is the Vice President for Corporate Responsibility and Government Affairs with Panasonic and would like to welcome you to the podium to give a few brief remarks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, very much, and good morning, everyone. And let me also extend thanks to our hosts, Carrie and Todd. We really appreciate your making this possible for all of us and joining you. I'm glad to say that Vintage Tech Recyclers are, in fact, a strong and valued and trusted partner of Panasonic in our own recycling activities, which I'll explain in just a second. Panasonic is almost a 100-year-old company, and its founder in 1918 literally expressed the goal of the company as the importance of serving society with our products. And at that same time, he expressed the importance of living in harmony with the earth, which roughly translated from the original Japanese turns out to sound like love the earth. In fact, as the company whose moniker is Ideas for Life, we've now turned sort of the eco ideas into practice through our own recycling activities. I'd like to just mention a few of those as part of our work here with the EPA's important program. Panasonic, 4 years ago, created with our partners at Sharp and Toshiba the MRM, Manufacturers Recycling Management Company. The idea being that building on Panasonic's own 15-plus years of voluntary recycling activities at that stage would help grow an efficient and effective and convenient mechanism for consumers to recycle all of their used electronics. MRM, I'm happy to say, in barely 4 years, has already recycled nearly 250 million pounds of used electronics. Nearly half of that last year alone, in this last year alone. That equates to something like 64 million CRT TVs, if you just calculated televisions, maybe 160 plus miles of tractor-trailer trucks carrying those goods to places like vintage recyclers here. The approach for us, of course, is to try to recapture all the products that have been used that we've manufactured and others, and to do that, MRM also operates over 1,500 drop-off sites, free, no-cost drop-off sites around the country, including some 62 here in Illinois, 32 here in the Chicago area, including nearby Bolingbrook and Naperville and a few other locations. And with our partners in recycling, such as Vintage Tech, we are able, through responsible recycling, first, not to export any product that we recapture for recycling at all, not to use prison labor, and to follow the highest standards and most responsible standards, as Lisa's outlined, among the certification bodies. So our goal is to help you conveniently recycle your used electronics. Panasonic has been reporting for about 25 years. I printed one out, but you can find it online at panasonic.com, the details of our eco activities around the world. We're a large company, about $100 billion turnover, with some 330,000 employees in almost every corner of the world. And in each of those places, we undertake, as best we can, practical and sensible recycling activities that make it convenient for consumers to recapture and sometimes reuse their old devices. Two quick thoughts. In Panasonic's case, we also have a number of recycling technologies that we deploy in a variety of facilities around the world, and we're trying to figure out ways every day to reuse the materials that we recapture. Some of them, of course, have value in things like computers with valuable metals, but in a television there really isn't that much. Nevertheless, we're now working on ways to capture, separate, and reuse all the plastics that have been involved in things like television cases and frames. And perhaps most importantly, a new effort for us is to take the faceplate of CRT television glass, spin it into glass wool, like fiberglass, and put it into an incredibly effective, incredibly efficient, vacuum-packed insulation material, which goes into refrigerators, hot pots, other appliances, and we hope soon in the housing industry. All of this in a way to simply reuse things that otherwise wouldn't find a practical use. Our hope, of course, is in the long run that not just CRT TVs, but everything that no longer has useful life can be properly and reasonably disposed of in the recycling chain. And to make that possible, our own company, like so many of the others, are designing for the environment, ensuring that everything we build is easy to demanufacture and easy to break down into the appropriate and disposable or recyclable parts. So we're delighted to be part of this tremendous effort and really appreciate EPA's leadership in bringing us together, along with our trade association, the Consumer Electronics Association, which launched last year an e-cycling challenge whose goal is to collect 1 billion pounds of used electronics every year by the year 2016. We believe we'll be able to meet the important goals that EPA has set out in this larger framework. Thank you very much, Lisa, for including us.
Thank you, Peter, and I think we all support the continued need for resource conservation on all fronts. Let me now introduce Laura Bishop, who is Vice President for Government Relations with Best Buy Company, Incorporated. And I'm really thrilled, in addition to the manufacturing sector, to have the retail sector, both with Staples and Best Buy, join the challenge. So thank you very much, Laura, and please come up and give a few remarks.
Hello. On behalf of Best Buy, I'm pleased to be here with the EPA, so many of our vendor partners, and those of you at eScrap as well, partners in all of this effort. We applaud the EPA's leadership to encourage even greater, more convenient options for consumers to recycle their electronics. From Best Buy's trade-in program to our convenient in-store recycling programs and our Energy Star partnerships, Best Buy is committed to ensuring that everyone has access to easy, sustainable technology choices that make a positive social and environmental impact. Best Buy has long offered the most comprehensive electronics recycling options, and we continue to work only with certified recyclers. Consumers recycle more electronics with Best Buy than any other retailer. An average of 387 pounds of electronics are recycled each minute at Best Buy. And recycling at Best Buy is free with few restrictions. And we're the only technology retailer that has made a pledge to recycle 1 billion pounds of consumer electronics and appliances by the end of 2014. We're closing in fast on this goal, and we expect to surpass it ahead of schedule. We see firsthand the demand for these services as consumers come into our stores every day. It continues to grow. We look forward to continuing to expand the initiatives that benefit our customers, serve our communities, and meet this demand in an environmentally responsible manner. It's our pleasure to participate in this challenge. Thank you very much.
I think now we will switch to the signing ceremony where I will ask each company to come up, their senior representative to come up and sign the challenge. And so without further ado, let's move to the next step. It's my pleasure to introduce YK Chu, who is the Senior Vice President for LG Electronics, U.S. Incorporated. Mr. Chu, would you please approach the signing table? So with that, that includes the formal signing ceremony. Again, thank you to Vintage Tech Recyclers for hosting us here today. It's a beautiful facility. We look forward to the tour, both at this facility and the facility down the way where you do the recycling activities. I invite the members of the company, anyone else who would like to join the tour, to please join us. I plan to do that. I thank eScrap Conferences for allowing us to live feed into you. I know that there are many, many folks there at that incredibly important conference, and any others who have also joined us live. We are going to be having a press availability session at 12:30 with myself and perhaps some of the members from the companies available for a short press availability session. And in closing, on behalf of the Administrator of EPA, Lisa Jackson, thank you again. I think this is an incredibly important initiative and shows where we can partner both with the industry, with the environmental community, with the state and local governments, with the recycling community to establish an effective partnership that achieves our shared objective, which is environmentally sound management of used electronics. So with that, thank you again, and we look forward to continued work with you.
So to conclude it, we're going to